Hey, go ahead.
Welcome to Marriage Minutes at its pace. And today we wanted to speak about a techniques of intimacy. And we came up with this acronym called We Fit.
We do?
Yes.
Okay.
And so what it's called is the fit is five intimacy techniques. And so there's five different techniques that we taught in the class and we have been teaching on. And so we want to share them with you. And so just last week, I was thinking, I was like, man, we got this talk about intimacy. We should really try to do something since, we're empty nesters now and everybody's like, oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I just thought it'd be different to kind of incorporate the intimacy techniques per day for the week. And so on Monday, we started with spiritual. And so we didn't have anything concrete to talk about, but we set aside an hour in the evening, at least, I'm sorry, the maximum would be an hour, just to have spiritual intimacy, to talk about where we were spiritually, what were some things that were feeding us spiritually outside the church. And so that kind of how the conversation went. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, and we set an action plan, and I want you to understand that the five intimacy techniques means that you understand what the technique is, and then you apply an action plan so that you can cultivate that in your relationship. So we talked about the fact that we wanted to increase our prayer life. We talked about the fact that we wanted to start bringing the things that we were doing possibly in life group or on an individual basis to improve individually. We thought that we wanted to bring that together. And I'll just say one quick thing about that. Mark asked me a question during that time. He said, how do you think couples work on this? And I said, I felt like couples work on spiritual intimacy by cultivating their individual relationships with God. It's kind of like my beautiful, wonderful Delta earring here, right? So if you got a husband and a wife down here and they are working on their spiritual awareness and getting closer to God, God is at the top. And as you get closer to Him, you have no choice but getting closer to one another. So spiritual intimacy is you are cultivating a relationship with one another through your spiritual relationship with God. That is spiritual intimacy, and the action plan is to do something to cultivate that.
And so the next night, Tuesday, we have life group. So we missed Tuesday, but we said, hey, Wednesday we're gonna double header. So the second one was intellectual. And so we set aside 2 hours that we were together in our lighthouse outside and just what we're going to, we had dinner. And so we sat down and just come up with some different ideas. We initially started talking about the whole Charlie Kirk thing, not necessarily him and everything around that, but just in terms of being a Christian, how do you guard your witness and that? And so that kind of got the conversation going. But then we were concerned about the third intimacy technique, and that was physical, not necessarily sexual, but just spending some time together, holding hands, looking in each other's eyes, um, and you know,
You
doing
know what?
doing some things to.
Doing what something? I just you kind of glossing over it.
Okay, well, you said
You said.
no.
I'm going to back up to intellectual intimacy. So your action plan needs to be what are we going to do to cultivate ourselves or stimulate ourselves intellectually? Are we going to watch a TV show together and have a conversation about it? Are we going to read different books and bring up those topics? Are we going to surf the internet together, but then have some dialogue about it? What is your intellectual intimacy technique? Okay.
Mhm.
Then let's get to the physical. Now, we know that couples maximize in this a lot of times when they first get married. And I will just go on to say that it gets more and more challenging, even when you're an empty nester, to cultivate an arena for physical intimacy.
Mhm.
And we still struggle with this. As wonderful as physical intimacy is, we still struggle with it just because we're older, time constraints, whatever. So our suggestion in regard to that is going to be that you schedule it, that you plan it. And then, Mark, can you talk a little bit about physical intimacy and worship music. Can we talk about that a little bit and then we'll go on to 4 and 5?
So we did a marital retreat teaching probably about 7, 8 years ago, and Rhonda mentioned in our class that to play gospel music during your intimate time together with your spouse, inviting God into that atmosphere because He created it. And so I think a lot of people in that class that day felt that it was taboo. But I think you will be surprised how freeing it is in terms of having God in that atmosphere. Too many times we bring in, past situations or past scenarios, not necessarily the person, but, our game plan is what our experiences have, taught us. And so, but inviting God into that scenario and finding, gospel music, be it whatever, and see what that does.
Yeah, I just think it's important to remember that anything that we're doing as believers, you should be able to invite God into it. If you
Yes.
can't, then that might be the problem.
And so, fourth technique was
Yes.
recreational. Now, I was really looking forward to this one because, my wife, we work out together. Well, we go to the gym together. We don't work out together. But Thursday is her walk day, and so I told her that I would walk with her, and so we walked. That's what our recreational activity was for Thursday, was to walk together. And so we walked 2.25 miles. And so that was our recreational activity together. But recreational activity could be anything. You could go bowling together. You can ice skate together. Whatever it is, you're doing it together. And so uh, have something tangible that you can coordinate and have it set up. Now, your days don't have to line up the way we have it, but if recreation was better for you on Friday or Saturday, but it was just that how it worked out for us.
Yep. And then the last technique then is crisis intimacy. And this, in my mind, kind of goes back to day one or spiritual intimacy. So, crisis intimacy is the ability for a couple to show up for one another and with each other in the midst of crisis. And I just want to say that again, I mean, most of you all who are watching this live in America, right? I'm sure there might be one or two people that listen outside of America, but what is going on in our country is devastating to us emotionally. I don't care anybody tries to say we all have PTSD and are being traumatized on a daily basis by the things that we hear and see and ingest. And so being able to show up for one another in crisis. How can you stand firm with one another in the midst of a storm? You all know that we've been very public about Mark's parenting, parents transitioning, caretaking, issues with raising and having conflict with one another with raising our child. And so those places can create crisis. And depending on where your relationship is when those crises hit, really determines how you're going to show up for one another. And so, the saying is get ready so you don't have to be ready, so you don't have to get ready. And so that is what we want to impress upon you, the need to work on your communication, to work on your accountability to one another, doing all those things that help you be a better you so that you can show up in the midst of the storm. But again, I didn't explain it what it is. What is it really? Showing up for each other, supporting one another, being their arm to cry on, being their support system during times of trial, right? And because that person may not be able to give to you at that time. So you have to be able to give the 150 so that that person can work at 50% capacity. And Mark is telling me to hurry up, so I'm going to hush.
So again, we fit 5 techniques: intellectual, spiritual,
He likes saying intellectual
recreational,
first.
physical, and crisis intimacy. Those are the 5 fingers of intimacy. Practice them, integrate them in your work, in your week, and build your marriage. Be well and be blessed.